Welcome in, everyone. RFK Refugees Podcast. Ted here, John here. John, my friend, it's a good day. I guess to be a United fan, a Spirit fan, maybe not so much, or maybe we'll get into that. I don't know how we're feeling.
Right.
How we're feeling as
Confusing.
Spirit fans today, but it's been a good day to be a DC fan. 2-1 victory. Everything going great. But first, we're getting that as always, John. How was your weekend, my friend? Hope it was well.
I played paintball on Sunday and I
Ooh.
got shot in the neck, among other
Oof.
places. And I realized it's not for me, this thing. It's not for me. I played when I was like 15 and I stopped when I got hit in the forehead from like an automatic paintball gun from very close range. And then this has ended this one. So I've got another 15 years to wait. Maybe when I'm 55, I'll be like, it's actually cool. I like doing this. But probably not. Probably not.
John sounding 40 more and more by the day.
Listen, let me shoot you in the neck with a paintball gun. Let me see how you like it.
You got a big old bruise to go with it, or
I just had like I intentionally did not clean the paint off my face. I got hit, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna rock this. I'm gonna just drive around with paint in my beard. I'm just gonna do that. Did you get shot with anything this weekend? What did you do this weekend?
I did not. I celebrated the unceremonious end of my refereeing. I had games on Thursday and Friday that were canceled. We went out. Oh, we went to Williamsburg. There was a Michelangelo Sistine Chapel type display type thing in Williamsburg that
That's cool.
That my wife really wanted to go see. It was interesting. It was interesting insight into how Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel and all that type of stuff. So it was a nice little thing. Then I saw my sister met at a brewery down in Williamsburg. So I had a good weekend, and then went and watched the Kickers unfortunately lose, and then came back to DC United winning. So that was all good in one sense. So we're back to the regular Monday shows, guys. We appreciate your patience. I know we've been bouncing around. It's been a busy season. The team hasn't necessarily been one to write home about, and sure enough, they gave us a win and something maybe positive to talk about. I don't know how we're going to feel about this.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But before we begin, John, I think let's jump into probably the bigger news.
Yeah,
regarding the team. Jona Giraldes is no longer the coach of the Washington Spirit. Douglas Ray Cerrone had the best drop of all time. That I think Troy Lesesne was hired on January 9th, and literally a day later, that's when Jona Giraldes was hired. And would you have ever predicted that Giraldes would have lasted? I guess he really didn't start. It was kind of that weird sort of transitional period. But would you have guessed that Troy Lesesne would have outlasted Jona Giraldes?
I don't think I would have.
John, what do we? In case you haven't heard, let's break down the news. So, Jona Giraldes apparently is moving offices, going to the other arm of the Michelle King soccer empire that includes Lyon, that includes London City Lionesses in England, and of course the Washington Spirit. Washington Spirit, presumably the crown jewel of the three clubs, but apparently I don't know what to make of this, man. I really don't. Is there something going on with the team? Is there something structurally? This feels very odd just to have Giraldes just kind of part ways and move over to Lyon, kind of like abruptly mid-season too.
Right. Yeah, there's certainly things that are not being said. There's lots of so there are a couple problems here, I think. One is the right concern of fans about the multi-club ownership, which has become a bit of a buzzword again after it was Club Leon that got kicked out of the Club World Cup because of restrictions that FIFA had on multi-club ownership inside of the tournament. So that was recent. That's LAFC got in on that, by the way. That was interesting. It's a $10 million play-in game basically, but then we found out from the Sounders that the players themselves are getting very, very little out of that money, and MLS is pocketing. Shock of shocks that's happening, but I digress. So that's one concern. You know, when Michelle King bought the Spirit, everyone said, this is the savior of all women's sports. She's paid more for any team than any other NWSL team has been gone for. She's set evaluations evaluations a new high level. It's making great for the sport. She's donated money to USA women's rugby. She's donated $30 million to US soccer. She's turned a club around. She's invested in sports medicine and the top the top names in that. They're no longer here. They're gone. But she had spent the money there originally, and there was just this question, like this. We have the ace in the hole. We have the best owner in women's sports. We've got the best one. She spares no expense. She signs and spends whoever she wants to spend. She's buying these other clubs, but that's like, that's whatever. We're the main attraction. We're the steak. They're the sizzle. It's not important. This calls into question that. That is not the main concern for me. I don't think it's mostly that. The thing that I am seeing is that this is about Jona, I think, for the most part. It's about potentially, this is the part we don't know. And I don't know that we're going to get reporting on this or the real truth. He's got a young family. He's got a wife that's about to have her second kid. There's no they have no family stateside. He talks about Champions League as though that it is the end all be all thing that he cares about. Of course, he comes to the Spirit knowing that the Champions League is not here, so that should be a thing that he knows about. He comes here and says, "I want to suffer." The thing that's annoying about Spain is that I go and every week I'm going to win. I have to prepare for Champions League, but the league games are, we have a high level, but no one's going to meet us. Guess what? French women's soccer is like. It's much like French men's soccer. There's one club for the most part that walks. I think Lyon won like months before they had clinched first place, like well before the end of the season. So there's something, we're being sold a line here somewhere. It's either there's issues with Jona that are sort of personal for him in nature that he wants to get back to Europe. It's that he did not like the Sporting. It was not necessarily what he thought it was going to be, or couldn't handle issues with injuries or the depth and speed and sort of competitiveness and parity that is NWSL, which he should have known. And then what I've heard also, from sources around the team is that, and from people who know things, is that there was issues with him in the locker room, and that the players themselves were not necessarily bought into the way that he did things. Certainly believable. The Spirit have never liked a manager very long. Most of the time it's been the manager's fault. But they never people don't stay at this club for whatever the reasons are. Adrian Gonzalez did a great job in his time as the interim coach. And we could talk about sort of the difference in performance, but I don't think this team's going to miss a beat. I was not thoroughly impressed with the way Jona handled things since he's been here. I do not think at all that this is a downgrade for this club at all. I think if you're looking at downgrades, it's more of that first problem that I described, the multi-club ownership, is if that's a serious issue, if we're going to start seeing a divestment of interest or money in this club in order to spend it over there, then it's a concern. But as far as the sporting component, I think we have to be happy, or at least nonplussed. How do you fall on the whole thing?
Well, let's go back a little bit. I think maybe some fans, I tend to your point. I never really, yes, Jonathan Geraldes brought this team to the NWSL championship last year. I think that deserves to be heralded. He suffered a lot of injuries. He managed to get that team, to that championship game. I will agree. I think we go back to sort of how the first season he was hired. That would be last year, and how it would the oddness of this this situation where Michelle Kane paid a bunch of money to bring him on, and basically they tried to bring him on at the beginning of the year, and he said no, I want to stay at Barcelona. So his assistant Adrian Gonzalez heads over. We're all thinking, okay, this is going to be transition. This will be, yes, Timothy Rowerer. Adrian Gonzalez will take over as the Spirit head coach. But Adrian Gonzalez was the interim head coach for a while. And we saw this team play some truly great soccer through that time period. And then, Jonathan comes in. I think injuries started to kind of mount up for this team. They started to lose Croy Bethune. They lost Oleana Sarr for a little bit. So maybe that explained a little bit of the struggles, but you never really, I think I never really saw this team kind of take off from there. When Adrian was there, I saw this team play some great soccer. They were fun. They were exciting. And and when John did come in, I can't say like suddenly things improved. And there is an argument in soccer; it's about the players, it's not really about the coach. I think the fact that Adrian is coming in, I think that's a player they're familiar with. The team themselves have raved about Adrian. The players raved about
Yep.
Adrian. They were asked about, how do you feel about this situation? They're like, he's been great. He's been great about preparing us. He's been great about coaching us. So I think from that perspective, I'm okay with this situation. Really, this team against Seattle last week put together a performance that you could call like dominant. Like they hadn't really been dominant. They hadn't really been looking like the team that we thought they could be this year, which was like a top level contender. And this was the first game, a 3-0 victory. Gift Monday playing well, Corey Bethune settling in. They looked like a dominant NWSL team against the Seattle, and that's what we want to see. So I don't know. Maybe the players got the news and they were maybe playing a little more loose. I don't know. That's interesting. I guess and who knows what we'll hear once the story if the story comes out, if there's people that it will talk. Again, this is a sport that's still covered, but yeah, I guess it's interesting from a personal level. And again, the politics and the situation in the U.S. is not great.
Certainly not helping. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's not keeping anyone here.
Yeah, so that might be playing a role. Again, speculating, but we're all speculating here until we hear something.
What's wild is that he is staying until July 18th. Why? For what reason? If you're the Spirit, what is the benefit in having a coach who's out the door still here for another month and a half? Go to France. Particularly if your wife's about to have her baby, go settle in where you're going to settle in. You don't need to be on a club that you have decided you don't want to be at anymore. So,
and it's also weird that your successor, your person who's taking over as the head coach, will be the one. I don't.
You don't, and there's no need for like an onboarding basically because he's been there and he's been there the entire time. There couldn't be a better situation for him to leave now, ever, for any club that's gonna replace a head coach. So right. I don't know.
But by the way, my mistake on the story, Jana posting out, I don't know where I got 3-0 from. 2-1 was the score line. But that game could have been higher. The July 18th thing is confusing. It feels very, very reminiscent of how he came here and how he sort of arrived in the middle of the season.
He's on his time.
Yeah.
He's on his calendar. There was a post on Reddit asking if fans were going to boo. I would boo, by the way.
Yeah.
But like 98% of the people on this thread was like, no, I'm not bringing that negativity. I was like, I mean, it's okay. You could boo him. It's okay. He should hear that. He should hear from someone that this sucks. But anyway, I think that's go ahead.
I do wonder. I mean, obviously, I think from a contractual reason, maybe he kind of wants to stay. He wants to stay.
He wants to stay on the health insurance because the baby's about to come, so he doesn't want to switch insurance.
Possibly, but again, you go to Europe, you get free health insurance. So I don't know if that's really the case. So, but I don't know. I think it is a weird situation. Him staying until July 18th. They're currently on an international break, so this feels like a natural split off point.
Mm-hmm.
Is right before the international break. They will not take the field again until they'll be back June 8th. But yeah, you're looking at 3 matches. You're looking at home against the Courage, away against the Thorns, away against the Wave, and then he's gone. And then you have an even longer break. So he's here until July 18th, but they don't play a game until August 3rd.
So dumb. This is so stupid.
And especially, I mean, if you didn't have a manager that you were going to promote, then I could see, okay, you need the time to get the other guy in. But they're just going to promote these. I'll be very curious to see what it's like on that sideline. Is Jonathan still giving orders, setting lineups, or is Adrian really the one kind of running the show? That's going to be something interesting to watch.
I imagine if he's there, he's in charge, and he's gonna act as though everything is the same.
Yeah.
What a silly little dance. All right. Well, let's make a transition. We actually have some good news for a change. And here Todd says, I want to get excited, but I feel like Charlie Brown and DC United is Lucy. We do have a victory to talk about.
We do.
Which is just sort of unexpected based on the way things have gone.
Yeah. I very unexpected result. DC United,
FC Cincinnati's first home loss of the year, by the way.
First home loss of the year. They're now winless in 4. you looking back on it, this game maybe felt like, usually DC gets sucked into the trap games. Maybe this game maybe felt like a trap game for FC Cincinnati fans. Yeah, this is. I kind of watched this game and I'm kind of sitting back, and it really took, obviously, Pirani comes up, gets the start. John,
We should pause there. We should pause there. I'm a man. I'm a man who gives credit. I'm a
well,
man
number one,
who
I'm going to stop you there, John, because you know what you're not doing. You're not wearing the Pirani jersey.
listen. It doesn't fit really well at the moment, so that's the principal reason. Because I didn't buy the authentic item. Anyway, it was a decision that was made. I'm a man who admits when he's wrong, particularly publicly, when he's very loud about it. Ted said, Pirani should start. I said, no, he shouldn't start. And why he shouldn't start is because he's never started a game and done well, ever, since he's been here. He's been great as a substitute. And I said, that's not going to change. And then this game happened, and he played supremely well with confidence the whole time. So I gotta give it up. Pirani had a great game from the start. I have to eat crow on that. I'm not gonna wear the jersey because I don't think anybody wants to see that at the moment.
Mhm.
But yeah, we should be happy about that. That's a great development. Now the next feat is do it two games in a row. Prove me wrong again. I'm like the owner, the picture of the owner in Major League, the baseball movie, where I'm the big bad boogeyman that Pirani is successful in spite of. So that's me. I'm the bad guy. Pirani, take it out on me. Keep scoring goals.
If anything, I think what he sort of brought to this team, you look at the 2 goals he scored, the wicked inside of the foot shot against New England, and then this goal off the set piece. I think this team, you talk about how flat they've been offensively. A large part of it is I feel like everybody's scared to shoot or take a chance, or really, other than the wingbacks, but mostly like the offensive players, your Jacob Murals, your Kojimas, your whoever they throw out there, I guess on the right, either Cervania or somebody else. Like they're all kind of scared to take a shot from outside the box. And I know, the old XG adage, get closer into the box, you have a better chance of scoring, yada, yada, yada. We don't have the players to do that, though. We don't have an Evander. We don't have a Denke to set that up. We don't have a Christian Benteke right now. We don't have any DPs out there on the field. So maybe bringing in a player. This is a situation, I think, that does maybe suit Pirani a little bit. He's not really expected to do much chance creation, even though he did. I'll give him credit. He got an assist. It was a nice ball over the top. It was a fortuitous kind of hopeful cross. It wasn't like a slice. And I know some people are going to be probably banging their keyboard or turn off this podcast. Oh, they don't have anything positive to say about Pirani.
I just like wore a hairsuit about how much. I definitely, we're not doing that.
And he played well. He played well in this game. His movement, his sort of recycling movement, sort of his accurate passing, his ability to kind of buzz around the field and find positions has been good. I still don't think we learned much new. If anything, I'm looking at this performance and I'm like, well, if he keeps this up, there are other teams that might be interested in him because, and again, I hate saying this, but I want to see a top level player. I'm telling you guys, go. I like some people you only watch DC United, and I get it, but go watch some of these other teams. Pirani did well in this game, and if he does well again and he continues to show promise, I will give him some shout outs because I think there was a lot of hubbub made about the goal he scored and the celebration he had right in front of Troy, kind of the sort of fist pump celebration. And he scores this goal and he runs right over and gives Troy a hug. So kind of
he listens to the show. He's on the Discord. It's very clear.
Diffusing the whole situation amongst Troy Lesane. But no, this was a game. It was interesting that they were scoring these goals and they all ran over the bench. Antley ran over the bench. I think there has been sort of maybe a vote of confidence amongst the players about how much they do like playing for Troy and they want to keep him as a coach. That seemed kind of evident as I was kind of watching, this game. The results haven't been there, but the team still feels very much bought in. And then we got a question here from Slide Tackle says, if Dalian probably turned on the Magic, anyone else want to give him bulletin board material to? Well, I just did.
Yeah.
I just did. He hasn't. I mean, again, I think I looked through the stats. Like, well, did he create any chances? He's still lacks that kind of ability to make that real, like, incisive pass that, like, breaks a defensive line. Yes, he had a assist today. I'll give him credit for that. It's a ball over the top. It found Antley. Those are, I don't want to say lucky. They're good opportunities. It was a good choice, but they're also not we want to see, not like things you look at in number 10 and you're like, oh man, he just like created that out of nothing.
For instance, the goal that Cincinnati scored after Evander just debones Herrera, just takes his hips out of his body, and plays Zindenki for pretty easy goal. Yeah, that's the 10. That's the 10 we're looking for. That's the sort of chance creation play that that gets me excited.
And regardless of they sell, I think bringing in that type of chance creator could be a little freeing for Pirani and make him a better player. The guy can shoot. We've seen this guy hit shots. He gets in space. He's not afraid to shoot. And when he's dialed in, he can be very effective and very dangerous. I think that is ultimately, if he is to be successful in this team, I think this team brings in a number 10 type chance creator. They slot him in there. That person is responsible for the chance creation, and he can find a player like Pirani who can kind of play as kind of a false nine, sort of, back, maybe like a little inverted winger. And his goal is going to be to get shots, find opportunities, and score goals. And I think that's where we've seen Pirani be the most effective and be very good, is when he doesn't have that type of creative responsibility. He finds openings and shoots.
I think this is Merle's last game as a 9 with Baji coming back, playing 30 minutes. I think that's it for that. That experiment's over. Or not experiment. That was a desperation, got to fill a guy in here situation.
And it's really not fair. I've seen a lot of people dump on Merle, talk about how he's not good. He's not playing a position where I think he can be effective.
Not on MLS 9, just not him.
No, you put him out on the wing, I think you'll see him play much better. I think he would honestly take. Everyone wants to start, but I'm sure if you asked him deep down, he'd be like, yeah, I'd much rather just, if I have to come off the bench for a little bit and be a winger again, I think that'll be a more comfortable position, because that's where we saw him be really good. Played a really excellent ball, over to. I just read
you get distracted.
Someone posted a really good comment. I'm going to Google this before I bring it up, but yeah, just being that type of winger, going inside, then he gets opportunities to take a shot from outside the box, all of those types of things. So I think that's going to be a good thing. All right, I just Googled this. I'm going to ignore your comment, Timothy. I'm going to ignore that completely. I'm not seeing any news. So find me a link and maybe I'll get interested. Other players we want to highlight from this game. I have one I want to highlight, but I talked a lot about Pirani, so I want to pass it on to you.
I think Antley, who played himself into a Team of the Week nomination here this week, coming back from injury. It was always talked about how this player was really important. Troy would talk about, like, we can't wait till we get this guy back. And I think some fans were like, really, him? Like, this guy who had like a very short stint prior to injury of being effective after a career in the USL and other places, like, that's who's going to turn this team around. That's who's going to really provide. But as we continue to try to figure out ways to, we didn't do it this time because of the formation, but as we continue to try to figure out how we can keep Herrera and Schnegg alive through the summer, having a wingback option that is versatile and can play either side, I think, without a problem, and also can provide both attack and defense, which is what this position needs. I think this is like the best find possible. This is like they always hate this is like a new signing, but this is a player who is super needed for how this team is constructed. The fact that he's come back and been valuable, I think, is worth spotlighting. And even if he hadn't scored a goal, I think this is a good spot for this team as we move forward into the hot summer, where players are going to get injured and players are going to have international duty, and all those things are going to happen.
Yeah, and Jim Manzer 88 says thoughts on Herrera as the right-sided center back with Antley as the wing back. Feel like it gives some more mobility and creativity. Might just be, but I've liked that convo over the last 2 games. I think it also, like you said, I think it allowed Herrera to be, he was able to kind of play that kind of step-in type player, get into the midfield, connect. I thought he had a very good game. The entire back line, we got to give it credit. I think Kyrell's, under maybe an unsung performance in the back line, made some really timely interceptions, some sort of timely stops, kept the game in front of him. He's a player that I think everybody kind of wrote off over the last first few games. I think he has started to look a little bit. He started to sort of come around to maybe where he can be an effective player for this team. He had a really good game, I thought. Another player I want to call out is Matty Peltola. I thought Matty was excellent. Game sort of a very much a well-timed tackle in the box, risky tackle,
Yeah.
but still won the ball and survived the VAR review. But I thought he had a really good game.
I'm glad his leg didn't snap on that play.
Yeah. It's probably a very good thing, but no, he was excellent in this game. I liked it more, like everyone, the announcers, and then also I listened on the radio coming back, and they were raving about Enow. I thought Enow was good. I thought he was good. He was his ability to kind of cover ground. I think I can see a little bit of why maybe Ali Mackay thought, hey, this combination of Enow, who's kind of this, all over the place, running, covering a bunch of ground, interfering type of play can be really good. And then you combine him with a more calculated step to, pass out of the back type of player like Matty Peltola, could be something that could be successful for this team. I think we kind of saw the beginnings of hopefully the beginnings, I should say, of maybe that combination finally taking the field and finally working for this team. Because, I thought, Boris now did great, just kind of like being a general menace and kind of allowing DC to kind of dominate that midfield, which is something we've talked about. And it's why the transition defense was so much better in this game. They were not caught out like they have been in other games. They were able to kind of control that midfield. They were able to frustrate Evander and Denke. Evander and Denke got one opportunity where they scored.
Yep.
And then the rest of the game, they were really not able to get inside the six. There's a great go find it on Backheeled where they showed the passing map. And literally there's just like a big hole sort of around the six. So DC did a very effective job at sort of, really making it difficult. So much so that literally Pat Noonan went out and said, I need to go more direct. So I'm going to throw in 40-year-old Kai Kamara out there, who's playing for his 25th team, I guess, for MLS, however many that is. Those were kind of the big things, I guess, that caught me in the game. Was there anything else that kind of caught your eye, I guess, about this performance?
A bit of a shock, like you said. We'll be watching to see if they can carry this into the game against Chicago, a team that's up and down and up and down and up and down all season long, but is coming up off of 2 losses to New York City and Orlando. Then before that, winning. There's lots of goals that happen in their game. Like every game, one team has at least 3 goals. It appears for most of them, for most of their games. So we'll be interested to see how they can continue this, moving forward.
Whether this gives them momentum. I think we speculated, was the Charlotte game momentum? And then it looked like no. The answer was no.
We're doing that too. We're doing this. Our form chart
is that game. Look, it's going to be, I will not be surprised if they drop this game. Will not be surprised at all.
Nope.
I think we've got some questions and we've gotten some emails. Hello, Rich, who thinks that these players are better. It's the coaching. It's the way they're organized. You're welcome to have that opinion, my friend, but you're 100% wrong. You're 100% wrong. This team goes into every match with a talent deficiency. I beg you, go watch some other teams, please. Go sit and watch Atlanta. Go watch Cincy once they're really good. Go watch some games where they're really good, and you'll see a difference. It's a very, very stark difference to what DC does. And there were still some problems in this game. There were many, many times they got the ball into the attacking third, and they tried to do stuff that like a top level player did. I think there was one moment when Kojima got the ball and there was a wing back. I think it was Schnegg kind of like running down. And if he just laid the ball off, maybe they would have had a moment to make it 3-1. There's the moment that Baji got and hit off the post. Those are moments where if you have higher level talent out there, you're scoring that game, you're walking away 3-1, you're able to put more pressure on the game. This is DC has to walk into games, and let's not say DC played incredible against a credible opponent. Cincinnati also didn't play that well. They should have played better in this game, and that when you're a team like this, you take advantage of those moments where your opponent maybe isn't playing the best, and you can sort of step up. The real challenge, I think, is going to be, can they go back to home? Can they get get a victory against Chicago? Maybe start to turn the tide a little bit. Really, I think this team is about trying to stay alive. Summer window comes, and then maybe they can get a big plan player that can sort of change things.
In addition to that, the question is going to be: can they string a win together when they're missing Herrera, Enow, Rawls, Fletcher, Peltola, June, maybe Tubbs, and continue. Then the injuries that were already there continue to be there. So this will be a interesting makeshift back line. They need to do the healing chant over Tubbs's strained muscle, whatever it is, because that's going to be a challenge.
The good news is that Kyrolls did not pick up a yellow. David Schneck did not pick up a yellow.
Yep.
Those
So
two
their
players,
their good behavior continues.
Yes, so they get this game. It's just, again, we talk about this all the time. There's no reason MLS should be playing during this window. There are so few games going on during this window. There's like 4, I think, games going on during this window. Why? Find another date.
Find another date. Hopkins and Cervania in the midfield is what I think where we're going to probably start with.
Yeah,
and then the back line's a open question mark.
Yeah, and Hopkins is hopefully healthy. It looks like maybe he will be back.
They expect him to be, so we'll see.
Yeah. Do you think this is this the game do you hold off and do you bring on a Benteke, or do you have him play, or do you think he comes off the bench?
I would absolutely not wager him in this game. I would definitely not. I don't think. Maybe put him in the 18 and don't play him if he's to that point. I think it's like one of those, like you have him, go do warm-ups, like try to psych him out. But I would say keep him off the field for this game, because I think, you're playing with house money in this game and you have a limited roster. I think maybe you just try to do some danger. Chicago can be missing. Timothy talks about Chicago missing players. That's fine. The problem here is that this team defensively is struggling for depth. So when you take away Herrera and one of your center backs, and the other center back, your third center back, is injured, that's more important. Yeah. And you would normally say, all right, well, we'll throw Peltola back in there. He's not there either. So it will be the cupboard is more bare for DC United than anybody else always in these situations. It used to not be that way because we didn't have any players that were good enough to play for national teams, but now we have at least 5.
By the way, not seeing, this is the MLS list for the June window. I'm not seeing Aaron Herrera called up, but maybe I'm missing something.
Steve Goff has it, so that's
okay. Well, I remember once he turned down the call up. So I'll be curious. Maybe that's but it's Kyrolls will be gone too. He has also been called up for Australia. Mm-hmm. Matty Peltola has been called up. Boris Enow and Christian Fletcher according to Emmons list. Chicago have Chris Brady. And then they have Christopher Cups, US U17, Glasgow, and Sergio Urregel Jr. Chris Brady is the only major missing piece. Thankfully, even though we're without Kim Jung Hong, that's not really a major missing piece as far as in the sense that Barraza has been playing and been playing pretty well, sans the goal he gave up against New England.
Yeah. Let's wrap up the show here with the news for our potential DC United Next Pro stadium. This is a conversation we've been having. Go ahead.
We had one question, I think, from Purdy Fish. Does this win against Cincy change your opinion on what is possible for this season? Not really. Yeah.
Not at all.
Not at all.
All right. So stadium, Baltimore. There was a report that came out. The study that they originally split with the city of Baltimore, I think it was $450,000 to figure out where they could put a stadium and how much it would cost, has finally come out. The cost is around $200 million, $175 to $200 million. The site for this is 1.5 miles from the Under Armour stadium that was just built. That seats 1,500, so very, very small. But this is something that the state, the city, have been wanting to figure out if this is something they could do. They put a whole bunch of money aside in the budget for future years for stadium improvements. They have, Camden Yards is getting up there. I know that the new owner asked for some money for refurbishments there. M&T is getting up there in age. So I think, the open question is, how much money is DC United willing to put in to this? Do they think that the city will cover, or the state will cover the entirety of this cost? Should they? No, they should not. They really shouldn't. I think the article that I read said that Baltimore is the largest city that does not have some form of outdoor professional soccer in the country. That's fine. That's great. I mean, that's legitimate. But I do not think a stadium that seats 7,500 people to watch MLS Next Pro and DC Power is going to be 90% empty 100% of the games. I don't care. I do not think this will draw more than 1,500 people on a Saturday with other things to do in Baltimore. With Orioles games, and then in the fall with Ravens games, like I just do not see it. So the club, in a just world, the club pays for almost all of this. In a world that exists that we all are a part of, Maryland will pay. If this happens, Maryland's going to pay for most of it. I think they're just going to do it, and I'm glad I don't live in Maryland because I'd be more angry about it than I am.
Yeah, I guess the only caveat's going to be, we all know DC has this USL Super League team that makes no sense. Does that move to Baltimore?
Yeah, said Power would go, and what does Power draw?
Yeah, it depends. It probably draw more than DC. I think it really does.
Yes.
I think to the point of the MLS Next Pro, it is a shame. I do look at it from a perspective of, if I'm a soccer fan in Baltimore, I would be more interested in going to see a USL, championship level team play. And it's a shame because there were teams in Baltimore. There was Crystal Palace, Baltimore. There were other teams that existed in Baltimore. It felt like they just kind of missed the boat, where if an owner had come in at the right time, if they came in right now, you could gain a lot of civic pride. There's a lot of soccer fans that want to come out to a game. The Kickers have ridden that, and their crowds are fantastic. Even though they do not spend at all close to what other teams in USL spend, they have built in that community. And that's what a lot of people want to see. People like me, I want to go to a live soccer match. So I think there would still be that crowd that would be engaged when Loudoun, there are still people, we have some people that did a podcast for Loudoun. So I think you could see it. I do think that there would be a lot of people that would be like, I don't know if I want to go watch a minor league,
and a reserve side, essentially. It's like think about how many people we used to go to DC United reserves, the under 23s that would play at RFK grounds or wherever else. No, like 5 people, the parents. And listen, we're outside of this. I don't live in Baltimore. I don't have a dog in this fight. If you do, I'm honestly behind you. I need this team to have a Next Pro team. I don't care if it's on the moon. It doesn't really matter to me where it is. But if you are, do not buy the line. Do not buy the sell here, but that anyone is trying to talk to you about. Like Ted's right. There are people that are going to want to see live soccer, but there is just not a unquenchable thirst to watch an MLS reserve side of one of the worst teams in the league and in the last 5 years. If there are diehards in Baltimore, the number of diehards that are still commuting down to games, I know in the past there used to be a lot of Richmond folks. There were Baltimore folks that would come down. I don't know if they're still doing that. I think that the passion is died down a little bit. I'm not certain. Somebody asked who's driving to Baltimore to watch games. 0 people. The parents potentially of young players will, but that's the whole I think the logic is they're saying, if we put this club here, it will be a net negative money. It'll be a money loser because no one is going to come see it. No one in the DC area will come see it. If we put it somewhere else, there will be people, as Ted was talking about, that are so thirsty for anything that's professional soccer at any level that they'll come and pay. And if we can get the city or the state to pay for it, then all the better, because then it's just that's a net positive in our hand, and we get to declutter Audi Field for other things that are money losers, where there aren't enough people coming to make it worth the investment. So I don't know. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at where we're at on this. I think go play at the Under Armour Stadium right now. See if you could fill that. That's 1,200 people. See if you could fill that first. Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. And again, this is also a game. People call it, it's about getting land. They get city-owned land in the stadium that can increase the valuation of the overall organization, and sort of drive money up. Yeah, and no one's driving to Baltimore and watch this games. This would be a local community thing. I think if you did it right, and that's the question would be for me, for the Centers Group, could they do this right? And they've given no indication that they can really put in the resources necessary to do everyone. I think if they got the stadium done, if they got the team in there and they said, hey, we're bringing this team in there, and they actually went out into the community, into the Baltimore community, they hired, a group of people full time to help, appear at, kids soccer events, to bring in families, to offer family deals, to really try to get, they could easily make this a success if they showed real investment. I think the real problem is, will they show that investment? Probably. I have my doubts. They have not shown the willingness to go out and do something like that. So prove me wrong, Jason. Prove me wrong, buddy.
The stadium also has a roof over 3/4 of the grandstands, just as a fu to DC United fans.
Well, they're going to expand it to 30,000 and build a roof. So
that's true. Retractable roof coming. I forgot.
That's gonna happen. All right,
let's wrap it.
Yep, I think that's going to do it, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will be certainly more engaged and certainly more in the show. Nicholas, I did not see Peltol's comment on going on international duty. Doesn't sound like he's happy here. I would say a player not starting every game like he thought he would be, maybe he isn't happy. Maybe that'll change. He was very good. I think maybe there's going to be some turnaround here for him.
Or maybe he does well when we sell him in the summer. Either way.
That could also be a possibility. Anyway, guys, we will catch you guys definitely next week. We will be back to talk about a hopeful Chicago win. Maybe some
2 in a row. It's a win streak, baby.
Some new positive vibes. Talk to you guys later. Vamos.